Not all mornings, but some mornings I get to start my day right around sunrise out here on my pontoon boat fishing. I guess I'm fishing for bass. I don't catch a lot. I'm not really a very good fisherman. But I like to throw out the lure, roll it in, throw it out again, roll it in. Sometimes I get to see a soft-shell turtle like this morning, painted turtle maybe, come over and say hi. Usually this time of year, in July, there's a lot of birds around, red-winged blackbirds across the lake that are pretty good at annoying the occasional great blue heron that makes the mistake of landing in their little kingdom. There's an osprey nest about a quarter of a mile away on the end of a pole that was put up some years ago by the, I guess the DNR and the You can just make out the nest on the pole in the distance. It's fitted with a video camera, so you can watch the residents on YouTube. Just search with the words Osprey, Crooked, Lake for hours of soothing domestic avian life. As cool as raptors might be, I especially appreciate the slow-moving creatures, for example, sea anemones, barnacles, and clams. One of the great things about living on Crooked Lake is that I can continue my mussel research. A big part of that has been a tag and release project which started several years ago and focuses on the most common species here, Lampsilis siliquoidea, also known as the fat mucket. We started marking these guys with little numbered tags back in 2011, but it was 2017 when we really got going. Since 2017, we've been gathering each summer and fall to round them up and document their size and location. The mussel bed is at the east end of the lake, about 15 minutes by boat from my dock. 19 people helped me during the most recent roundup that took place on the 25th of June, 2022. We started by wading from one end of the mussel bed to the other, placing red surveyor's flags next to every mussel we encountered. Next, we recorded each mussel's species, size, and location, as well as the tag numbers of recaptured individuals. We measured each mussel 3 ways. The shell length is the longest dimension, shown here in the upper left. Among the native freshwater mussels, the shell length runs from the anterior to the posterior edge. The shell height is roughly perpendicular to the shell length and runs from the dorsal to the ventral edge, like we see here in the upper right. The shell width goes from left to right, like in the bottom view. Later on, I used the length, height, and width values in conjunction with a geometrical formula for what's called the ellipsoid volume to get a reasonably good approximation of the space occupied by a mussel shell. Of course, a mussel shape isn't exactly an ellipsoid, but it allows us to fairly compare the sizes of species, even though one species might be long and skinny and another might be stubby and fat. Let's do a sample calculation. The basic ellipsoid volume formula can be rewritten, as we see here on the second line, by replacing each of the ellipsoid radius variables with measurements that we take from our mussel shells. So the variable A gets replaced with the shell width divided by 2. B becomes shell length divided by 2, and C is 1/2 the height. The bottom line gives an example using real values from a real mussel. Notice that the units on the linear measurements are given in millimeters. So we multiply the whole quantity by 1/1000 so that the volume is in cubic centimeters. Just the other day, I finished entering the raw data into my computer, so many hours of quality control and analysis lay ahead. But here's a hint of what's to come. It'll be no surprise to the folks who participated that the majority of individuals we found on the 25th were Lampsilis siliquoidea, and about 30% of them had been previously tagged. Most of the remaining specimens were Legumia subrostrata. We found just a few Pyganodon grandis. We can say a couple of things right off the bat about the siliquoidea we encountered, lumping tagged and untagged together. The average ellipsoid volume was 49.7 cubic centimeters, while the smallest was 12.4 and the largest was 85.4. The distribution was roughly normal, with the greatest number of individuals falling into the size class maxed out at 60 cc's. How this compares to past years remains to be determined. My thanks to all the mighty folks who have made this summer's Mussel Roundup a success. Your diligence, care, and hard work are much appreciated. I made this video, and those to follow, with you and all my other fellow mussel geeks in mind. It seems only right that I share with you the results of our efforts together. You're my main audience, but hopefully word will spread, and others will join our merry band, if not in person, then through the magic of the internet. You can all look forward to future episodes of Crooked Lakes Mussels as time permits.